MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi Opinion. The MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi is available for $400. Pro. Decent CPU overclocking. Wi-Fi 6E. 2x MPG Gen 5.0. 5x M.2 sockets. RGB support, headers. Contra. Only 2.5 GB Ethernet. Extra SM.2 clips require removable of heat sinks. DDR5 6200 soft limit. Third key slot is only Gen 3 4x. 75 power stages. We have reached the end of another review, and it is time to consolidate everything covered in this article. As with previous reviews, I will start with what I think MSI could improve before finishing on a positive note. It has been just over a month since the launch of Intel's new LGA 1700 platform, and the price of entry is higher than expected as the trend of increased cost per generation continues. This price increase can in part be justified by the new DDR5 and MPG Gen 5.0 support, though not entirely. Both require better signal integrity, which is in turn more expensive to manufacture. The ongoing rare metals and chip shortages only inflate prices further. Combined, you are left with upwards of a 100% MSRP increase over just the last few years. That being said, for manufacturers to keep prices in check, extra features that may have made it into the AMD X570 platform are simply absent. At a similar price point, I would have previously expected the inclusion of Thunderbolt 4GB and 5G LAN. Instead, the MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi comes with a new 2.5 GB standard and USB 3.2 ports all Z690 chipset motherboards have. Continuing on the subject of price, MSI's decision to use 75 power stages means that any overclocking must be done cautiously. This is not to say that this VRM design choice is out of place at this price point, but the weaker power stages mean a heavy all-core overclock isn't recommended, which the port torture test results underline. Granted, that test is designed to be abusive to highlight and accentuate potential issues, which extends to the nature of how people validate overclocks and applications with different use cases. It is easier to say the VRM isn't up to the task, which actually depends on voltages and the duration of the CPU load with these stress-inducing applications. Next up are a few minor things worth mentioning. First is the M.2 clips issue. It is not a serious problem per se, unlike the lack of care that was put into the heat shield design. MSI using the same screw holes as the clips means one must either sacrifice conveniently swapping and installing M.2 drives or remove the heat shield altogether. In short, motherboard design prevents both from being used simultaneously. During memory testing, I was left wondering why the website states 6666 plus MHz even though that is an unrealistic, unobtainable value. I will refer to the highest value I could achieve as the soft limit because someone may put countless hours into tweaking the timings and voltages to surpass it. Most people are willing to put around as much time and effort into it as I have, and there are the time constraints typically tied to a review to consider. Using a DDR5 6400 memory kit and manually setting the timings and voltages related to the DRAM and CPU allowed me to rule out a BIOS misconfiguration. The MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi simply would not post above DDR5 6200, but I know that my settings and the CPU are capable of DDR5 6400. Once again, more can be done in terms of the subsettings if you are willing to put the time and effort into such an endeavor. Just understand that it is an uphill battle that may not be winnable. After extended use over these past few weeks, the MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi holds plenty of features that make it a well-rounded product. For starters, it has a robust overclocking feature set for the CPU and memory in the BIOS. Those who rather set a heavy single-core overclock have the ability to do so with relative ease. If finding the right setting is an issue, the search function is a welcome addition for those who know the name of the setting, but not where it is located. What sets this motherboard apart from the pack is the clever use of space. Not only does the MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi have two key Gen 5 slots, but they are far enough apart to avoid slot conflicts. Combined with a total of 5 M.2 sockets, this motherboard has the means to deliver what is required of an enthusiast tier system at a reasonable price point. Add the rest of the feature set, like numerous fan headers, Wi-Fi 6E support, and high-fidelity audio, and it stands to be a well-rounded product. As we near the end of this review, I find myself weighing each advantage to the unpleasant reality of certain findings during the reviewing processes. The MSI MPG Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi is certainly not a perfect product, but it has qualities that can be attractive to buyers looking for a mid-range system that doesn't completely destroy the wallet. It checks off a majority of the requirements needed for a good product by balancing the weaker talking points in terms of features with things of further interest that are practical. Therefore, I would not hesitate to suggest this motherboard to casual users pulling together a powerful Alder Lake system at a reasonable, affordable price.